against the Italians, quarterfinals, Euro 2012. So if I try and wrap things up early, just to remind me why we should continue these discussions. Really, I mean, it's a pleasure to welcome you all to Montreal. It's a pleasure to welcome you to today's meeting. We don't get very many opportunities as a Canadian CURA to meet face to face, and so this is really our second networking meeting. We have some familiar faces, and we also, at least from my perspective, some new faces in terms of participants in this meeting. So really, really pleased to have you all here, and for some of you, it's still actually very early in the morning, so again, there's time lag and time differences and the like. What we plan to do during today, first of all, really our goals, we want to get to know each other and to know at least a little bit more.
Last year, so if you remember, our year runs from April until March. So if there are things that just happened recently, it's not going to compliment it, but we'll make sure to capture that next year as well. All right, so first of all, we grew our community. So we invited Joanne, who has taken over for Anna Maria while she's been on sabbatical. She's here with us today, and Linda as well has become the Prairie Cluster co-lead, and Fiona has joined us. So what Quentin did was when John left, he stepped up to become our principal investigator, housing CCA, and then Fiona stepped up to the role to join the group in leading the national cluster. So we've had some movement in terms of our community. We also had lots of other folks join us. Alicia Lake, who's here today from Brighton University, working with Catherine. Lots of other students there. Karen Liner joined the national cluster this year, and her new rep has also joined us, and several students. So we're growing and engaging people. So that's the first point. Did I forget anyone on that list from just this past one? Pretty good. So you may remember last year we all got together, and we had this really neat space in Fredericton where we had.
Because we have some extra time, I kind of wanted to hold you on where we should allot that. The basic structure was that we have these project overview forms. And actually, I wanted to start by polling you. Can you just be honest if you feel that you read through these and have a very good understanding of the background of each project? Put up your hand if you feel that way. No pressure.
Red.
So one thing that I built just a little bit of time in is when each cluster is coming up to present, we give a little bit of time just for you to review the projects in that cluster, because we really don't have a lot of time, so we can't give a whole background about what each project was about, and it's quite fast if you can read it. So that's one of the things we can allot a lot more time to. Then everyone in the cluster was going to take a turn talking about the project they're involved in, and we have some questions which are included in your package and are.
We ended up saying, well, we're actually too diverse to capture in a single paper. And what ended up happening when we tried to capture it in the paper is we had to abstract from all the specificities of the research projects and be like, well, okay, this one thing is what it all has in common. And so eventually we ended up saying, well, they actually don't have that much in common, and that's what makes them diverse and interesting. And so better to try to adapt this discussion paper to focus on one of our projects. And so that's what we've done now, and now it's kind of focusing explicitly on Joanne's project. Do you want to expand on that? Sure.
And just remember, if you want to read through the background of your projects, if you want to focus on some interesting things.
Right. Soon it's going to be a publishable article. Yeah. Okay. So W2, this is the mystery project. I didn't want to put it in our project summary form because then it's written somewhere, you know. But the idea that I'm working with for this project is to look at cooperatives in the context of capitalism and settler colonialism in Canada. And I'm especially interested in engaging co-ops as community partners who are explicitly anti-capitalist or anti-colonial, or trying to think through their relationship to capitalism and colonialism. And in terms of impact, I'm
successful on the west coast of Vancouver Island pre-World War II, extremely successful, and then they disappeared completely, of course, because of the internment of the Japanese and the expropriation of all that property and all their assets and resources. and the Japanese Canadian fishermen never came back. So there's a case where extremely successful cooperative was in place, and then what happened? Nothing happened. So you have to explain that. What happened there, and in the process of trying to come to terms with that, and trying to think about how does that fit, how does that story fit into the question of this
different elements of social impact, environmental impact, and that of course contributes to the challenge. So I just wanted to highlight two things. One of the milestones that we've just hit is to actually become included, some of our questions, not all of them, in a province-wide survey of credit that the Credit Union Central of Saskatchewan organizes and implements every 2 years. We thought we were going to be piloting and working with just 2 credit unions, and that we were sort of chugging along with that expectation in mind. And then Linda said, did you know there's this opportunity? And she went and pitched it for us. And the next thing we knew, we're in a flurry because we've got like 2 days to get everything together so it can go into the province-wide survey. So the survey is happening as we speak. There'll be about 1,500 respondents. They're members and non-members, so we're going to get an interesting cross-section of people's views. And there's questions that are specific to Affinity Credit Union, which is Linda's credit union, as well as ones that are more general to credit union impact. So that's a huge milestone for us. We didn't have to pay for the survey either, so we can spend our money on other things, which is going to, in the end, be more in-depth interviews with members to try to get at the kinds of things that those survey questions are not going to reveal. And that's truly sort of what Joanne was talking about, them giving voice to what their lived experience is as a result of the presence or the actions of the credit union. The dissemination highlight that's...
And you got it. We should probably make an acronym out of that.
Yes, absolutely. I didn't even know what it was properly called, but I did fill it. I think only 2 teams filled it. Us and somebody from Saskatchewan, an ag economist in Saskatchewan has filled it yet, so there's only 2 requests. The real person who's been doing the work is doctoral student David Bent, and he's analyzed the trend by plotting all these data on charts, and he will be presenting this tomorrow. And we are pretty clear as far as what we have in terms of what the trends are. But since we're not an expert in ag co-op, we are not sure yet what's behind the trend, what's causing the trend. So we're still at the stage where we're happy to receive any kind of help in the interpretation. So in terms of a milestone, the presentation tomorrow is probably one of our big milestones.